Iran dominates the headlines. Conflicts, threats, secret alliances, nuclear ambition. Yes, Iran appears in the Bible from Genesis to the prophecies of the end times, name Persia. Because the Bible doesn't just tell us about Iran's beginning, it also foretells its ultimate destiny in one of the darkest and most feared passages in Revelation, the war of Gog and Magog, a coalition that will rise up against Israel in the last days.
When most people hear the name Iran, they think of nuclear threats, Islamic revolution, or global tensions. But few realize that Iran, known in ancient times as Persia, has one of the richest biblical heritages of any modern nation. The Bible doesn't ignore Persia. In fact, Persia is mentioned over 30 times in the Old Testament alone, and it plays a major role in God's unfolding plan for nations. Long before Iran was a geopolitical headline, it was the backdrop of some of the Bible's most pivotal stories. It was in Persia that Queen Esther rose to power, saving the Jewish people from annihilation. It was under Persian kings like Cyrus the Great and Darius that the Jewish people were released from Babylonian captivity and allowed to return to Jerusalem. God even refers to Cyrus as his anointed in Isaiah 45, before Cyrus was even born. This means Iran is not an afterthought in prophecy. It is a key player, used by God in the past and destined to fulfill His purposes again in the future. Cyrus the Great, God's unexpected servant. Isaiah 45 opens with stunning words. Thus says the Lord to His anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have held. Imagine this, a pagan Persian king, called anointed by the God of Israel. Isaiah wrote this prophecy nearly 150 years before Cyrus was even born. And yet Cyrus would rise to become the ruler of the Medo-Persian Empire, defeating Babylon and issuing the decree that set the Jews free. In 2 Chronicles 36 verse 23, Cyrus says, The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth and has appointed me to build a temple for Him at Jerusalem. A Gentile king, declaring the God of heaven and funding the rebuilding of His temple. This moment wasn't random, it was orchestrated. Persia, under God's influence, played a central role in restoring Jerusalem and preserving the Messianic line. Cyrus was not Jewish. He was not a prophet. But he was a vessel, and that is the first glimpse of Iran's divine role. A nation used by God, even without full knowledge of Him. Esther, Mordecai, and the spiritual battle in Persia. The book of Esther takes place entirely within the Persian Empire. At the time, Jews lived under Persian rule after the Babylonian exile. It was during this period that a spiritual battle for survival unfolded. Haman, a Persian official, plotted the destruction of the Jewish people. His hatred nearly triggered genocide. But God had positioned Esther, a young Jewish woman, as queen, for such a time as this. Esther 4 verse 14. With wisdom, boldness, and faith, Esther approached King Xerxes and revealed the plot. The result? The Jewish people were saved, and Haman was hanged on his own gallows. This story doesn't just highlight courage. It reveals that Persia, modern-day Iran, was a spiritual battleground, a place where God's people faced extinction, and where God raised up deliverers. Today, Iran again finds itself in the midst of a spiritual struggle. And like in Esther's day, God is still raising up voices, some from within Iran, to stand for truth, redemption, and freedom. Persia in Daniel's prophetic visions. The book of Daniel is packed with prophetic insight, and Persia plays a crucial role in his visions. In Daniel 8, the prophet sees a ram with two horns, representing the kings of Media and Persia, charging westward with great power. Later, in Daniel 10, an angel says, The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. Daniel 10 verse 13. This was not a human prince. It was a demonic principality ruling over the spiritual atmosphere of Persia. The Bible unveils a cosmic battle, angels and demons warring over nations. What does this tell us? Persia has long been the focus of spiritual resistance and warfare. While God used Persian kings like Cyrus, the enemy also seeks to influence the destiny of this land. Even today, the struggle for Iran's soul is not merely political. It is spiritual. The principalities still fight, and the stakes are eternal. Ezekiel 38, Iran in the End Times. One of the most referenced prophetic chapters about the end times is Ezekiel 38, where the prophet describes a future invasion of Israel by a coalition of nations led by Gog of the land of Magog. Among the named allies is Persia, modern-day Iran. Ezekiel 38 verse 5 says, Persia, Cush, and Put will be with them, all with shields and helmets. This prophecy describes a time when Iran will align itself with other nations, including Russia, Magog, to attack Israel. This isn't just about war, it's about judgment, deliverance, and God revealing Himself to the nations. God says in Ezekiel 38 verse 23, And so I will show my greatness and my holiness, and I will make myself known in the sight of many nations. Iran will be a key player in this end-time conflict, but not in victory. God will intervene supernaturally, defending Israel and shaking the nations awake. The rise of Christianity in underground Iran. Though Iran's government is officially Islamic, a quiet revival is happening underground. In recent years, Iran has seen one of the fastest-growing Christian movements in the world. Former Muslims are encountering Jesus in dreams and visions. Underground churches, led mostly by women, are multiplying. Believers risk imprisonment, torture, even death, but they do not deny Christ. This movement is not man-made, it's spirit-led. It echoes Acts chapter 2, where God declares, I will pour out my spirit on all people, your sons and daughters will prophesy. Even under an oppressive regime, God is moving in Iran. The same land that once housed Cyrus, Daniel, and Esther is now witnessing a modern-day Acts revival. Iran's biblical destiny isn't only about judgment, it's also about awakening. Isaiah 19, a future alliance of worship. One of the most profound and often overlooked prophecies is found in Isaiah 19 verses 23 to 25. It speaks of a time when Egypt, Assyria, and Israel will worship God together in unity. Assyria included parts of modern-day Iran. Isaiah 19 verse 25 says, Whom the Lord Almighty will bless, saying, Blessed be Egypt my people, Assyria my handiwork, and Israel my inheritance. This prophecy reveals God's ultimate vision, not just destruction for Iran, but restoration and worship. Iran, Egypt, and Israel, nations once at odds, will one day be joined in praise under the banner of Yahweh. It's a stunning image, ancient enemies becoming brothers. This is the destiny that awaits when Christ returns and all nations bow before Him. Iran in Revelation, Babylon, the beast, and judgment. While Revelation doesn't mention Iran by name, many scholars believe aspects of Mystery Babylon and the beast system relate to the spirit of false religion, persecution, and Antichrist systems. Iran's government has long stood as a force of religious control, suppressing truth, and persecuting the church. It reflects many elements of Babylon, a city that both resists God and deceives nations. But Revelation promises that Babylon will fall. Fallen is Babylon the Great. Revelation 18 verse 2. Iran's current regime may align with systems of spiritual darkness, but it will not last. Christ will return to judge all wickedness. And from the ashes, God will raise up a remnant. Just as in Revelation, a new kingdom is coming, one not built by men, but ruled by the Lamb. Iran's role in the great harvest. Joel 2 prophesies a final outpouring of the Spirit before the day of the Lord. Iran is not excluded. God is calling Persians, young and old, male and female, to become laborers in the harvest. Iranian evangelists, missionaries, and intercessors are rising, even in prison cells and underground homes. This is the other side of prophecy, not just judgment, but revival. Iran, once the empire that ruled the world, will again rise, but this time not with armies and oppression. It will rise with light. The future is not yet written in final ink. Iran's people are choosing. Many are turning to Christ in record numbers, risking everything. The same nation that stood against Israel will one day worship beside her. Conclusion: Iran's final destiny according to the Bible. Iran's destiny is a story of tension between judgment and mercy, darkness and light, persecution and revival. From Cyrus to Esther, from Daniel's visions to Ezekiel's war, from spiritual battles in the heavens to house churches in the shadows, Iran has always been a land of destiny. God is not finished with Iran. In the end, the Bible reveals a picture of global worship, where once hostile nations are united under Jesus. Iran will play a role, some of it painful, some glorious. But God's desire is redemption. So as we watch headlines and pray for the Middle East, let us not forget, behind Iran's politics is a prophetic destiny. And God is still writing the story.